fading. We gotta go. I'll get my car. I brought mine. Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Bat Dan's Interviews. So, as you know, I may have referred to myself as part of Syl Nation. What is Syl Nation? Syl Nation is a group of us who follow this really great YouTuber, Syl Abdul, the people's champ, who has some of the best YouTube content out there. And I am honored to have this guy on my channel today. So please welcome the people's champ, Syl Abdul. How are you today?
Man, thank you, Dan. I'm doing great, man. I've been looking forward to connecting with you. So happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. Just love your content. You've really kept my hope of the SnyderVerse alive, just in the very dark days of it, the depressing days as a DC fan. Not that it's great right now, but at least we had hope.
Yeah, it's so funny when when we thought it was dead. I'm pretty sure you'll chronicle everything here, but like when Sarnoff, basically killed the SnyderVerse, right? Right after the Snyder Cut came out. It's like we had no hope, man. And I always thank, the chance meeting with Mikey Sutton's people that really started that year of hope, until Gunn got hired.
Yeah, thank you, Gunn, who actually, I think they just officially confirmed today that Ben Affleck's not going to be in Aquaman 2. Not that this was a secret, but...
Yeah, now y'all see, and I see now, like, people call me like a scooper or stuff like that. I really leak information. Like, I really get information in advance, and you've seen this firsthand, Dan, and other people in Syl Nation. So we knew this for a few months that this was happening. This probably was one of those things, Dan, where you're like, Syl, I always believe you, but I hope you're wrong. It was one of those things.
Yeah, that was definitely the case for all of December. That first half of December, I was like, oh God, please Syl be wrong. George Clooney, I was definitely praying for you to be wrong about that too. But that's why I respect you. You report what you actually hear, not what we want to hear.
Yeah, sometimes I don't give you all like the bourbon at once, so I could be, I guess, a culprit of that, where I don't want to crush everyone like just all at once. And so when I heard about the reboot, I was like, I kind of tell y'all it's not looking good, and you'll find out more later, right? So now we know.
You've been a DC fan a long time, though, I guess, and a SnyderVerse fan. So I guess tell me about let's get to the very beginning of Syl. Before you were on YouTube, before you were the people's champ, just how did you start off as a DC fan?
Yeah, Tim Burton Batman, Michael Keaton. You know, when I was very young, I discovered those films. I always say, well, first off, Batman '89, definitely liked that movie. At a young age, Batman Returns scared me. I was young, okay, and but it is a Christmas movie too. If just for the record, Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. But uh, so that's got me into just the Batman character back then, and I started reading comics, straight to Detective Comics. And at that time, I always said my little trinity of comic book, collection was Batman, Detective Comics, Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, and Jim Lee X-Men. Like that was literally like my introduction to comics. So anyone that reads comics, y'all know I was at a golden age, discovering at that time. And but DC always grabbed me. Like even though I was reading more Marvel then, just Batman just went so hard, man. I was just like, I want to know about the Justice League, the gods, among men, right? That's what DC is, bigger than life. Marvel wanted to kind of fit into New York and, and things like that. So that's why I lean more towards DC and like just stuck with me, over the years.
Yeah, and actually, it's a really good point you bring up about Marvel, though, about how it seems like every Marvel hero is from New York. I mean, what are the freaking odds of that? It's like no other.
I make fun of my East Coast friends, like they think the world revolves around them, in New York and Jersey, but that's what Marvel does, though.
Not DC though. DC branches out into different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and no one captures that better, in my opinion, than Zack Snyder, really showing all that good representation. So I guess, what was it like when you first saw Man of Steel?
Oh man, that was so cool. Like for me, I was a little late with the 300 bandwagon, right? Because everyone's like, oh, the cool visuals. And I was like, oh, this is cool. But like, I'm just going to admit, this may be sacrilegious as some Snyder fans. I didn't think it was like the best story. I thought 300 looked cool. But I was like, the story, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. It looks cool. So when I heard Zach was doing, the Superman reboot, because after Superman Returns, we needed a reboot. I went opening day, right? I went during the daytime. Normally, I didn't do that back in the day. I went during the daytime to see Man of Steel. It's probably like 5 people in the theater. And that Krypton opening scene, I was like, I want a whole movie of just this, just Krypton, Russell Crowe, and Michael Shannon, like battling with dialogue, right? Like I would watch a whole movie of that. I was hooked. I was hooked to the Snyderverse. I didn't know what we were getting into then, but the visuals and just the visceral action, I was like, okay, I became a fan. It took me till then actually become a Zack Snyder fan. Now, a lot of people will say Watchmen or they'll say 300. For me, it took Man of Steel. And then I was like, whatever Zack Snyder does, I'm going to watch it and tell everybody about it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm the same way. It was actually Man of Steel and BVS that really got me into Zack Snyder as well. And speaking of BVS, I guess, what was it like when you saw a BVS theatrical version?
Oh, man. So I know, obviously, us fans here, right? We know it's ultimate cut overall, right? But when we first got the theatrical version, that's all we had, right? That first, couple weeks or whatever, right? So we were just like, okay. Leading up to BVS, I started seeing a lot of leaks online about it and people talking about it. So I kind of spoiled myself actually before I saw BVS. And I was like, oh, I heard about the Martha scene before I even saw it, right? So I was like, oh, I can't wait to this moment. I can't wait to see, Doomsday and see what happens. And so being in the theaters, bro, for that, just the opening scene, though, when Ben Affleck was first announced as Batman, years ago, a lot of us scoffed at that. I include myself with that. He's my favorite Batman now ever, but I didn't know what to expect with Ben Affleck. So that opening scene, Ben sold me like without the suit, right? He's just running down, Metropolis and running to the smoke, right? To the chaos. I was sold from the first scene. I love the dialogue, the Chris Terrio dialogue. I ate it up. I saw that. I went to a midnight showing for BVS. Then I went 5 more times back to the theaters. And then obviously after the ultimate cut, I never went back to the theatrical. I never watched the theatrical again after the ultimate cut release. So
Same way, honestly. I told Sky this. I think of the theatrical cut as lobster without butter. Like, still really good, but if I have the option to have it with butter, why would I have it without butter?
Exactly.
No,
It's like
I rock with you.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good analogy right there. It's like, hey, the theatrical cut is still Zack Snyder stuff there. It just is edited a little weirder, and obviously it's missing 30 minutes of a lot of Clark Kent and nuanced stuff as well too. So, but yeah, there's no reason to go back to theatrical. If I see it like on TNT, watching it on TV or something, I'll still watch it if it's theatrical cut. But it's about the Ultimate Edition, of course.
But there's one movie that definitely does not have a good theatrical version, even if we love Zack Snyder's true version, Justice League, which for those of you who do not know, Justice League is the nickname for Joss Whedon's theatrical version of Justice League. So what was it like watching when you saw Justice League for the first time?
So right before Justice dropped, right, I caught wind of just this whole, we know the public story. Oh, Zach had to leave, because of Autumn, and we understood, initially, okay, he's just, it's good to step away, take care of your family, right? Up until when Justice came out, I started hearing just murmurings that this isn't Zach's film. Like, they really butchered this film, and that's actually when I connected with Fiona, late 2017. She was doing posts and stuff. I didn't really know her that well, but just that whole movement that started with Fiona as far as the release of Snyder Cut. And so when I caught wind that this was not Zach's film, I did not go to theaters at all to see Justice League. The first time I saw Justice League was a fan edit, and they put some of the deleted scenes. A lot of us saw a lot of fan edits right before the Snyder Cut was announced. Right, we had to live off of that, and so that was my first time seeing it. Actually, a fan edit of Justice League, and so I guess I'm grateful that I didn't see that full experience of Justice. But even those fan edits, they still had the same opening. You still had the bad mouth Superman and stuff like that. Oh. So that is what it is. But what did I think? Yeah, it was just, man, as a DC fan, like we talk about, I'm a lifelong DC fan. Like, that was supposed to be the moment. We saw what the Avengers did in the early 2010s or whatever. This was our moment as DC fans. 2017 was supposed to be that crescendo. Justice League theatrical. That was going to be $1 billion film. And, I still, obviously, we still feel we're robbed. And so when I first watched it, I was like, we're robbed. There's moments I was like, okay, that looks like what Zack Snyder would do. And then you saw all the goofy stuff. I was like, missed opportunity just for Warner's. I mean, obviously for fans, but for the company Warner's. I mean, that's why they're getting sold several times after that, because they just missed it. They missed their moment right there, man. That was it.
There's so many moments. Even that moment, they've had a chance to redeem themselves, and they end up dropping the ball there, and they had another chance to redeem themselves. They dropped the ball again. But another time they had to redeem themselves was the Snyder Cut. May 20th, the big day where Zack Snyder shows that picture. Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out on HBO Max 2021. Henry Cavill himself shows up for this. How was that moment for you?
Oh, man, that was so cool. Like, when we heard, if you was looking on social media around that time in mid-May, insiders were saying, hey, Zach may actually announce something here, right? Because, we do his watch-alongs with Zach all the time on Vero. We was, used to this. This was during lockdown, right? So I was furloughed from my job then. So I was at home, just every day. It was lockdown, all that stuff, right, during COVID. So when you heard that Zach was doing a watch-along and he could announce something, all of us, was like, man, could this be it? Is he really going to announce the Snyder Cut, right? So I sat there, I had my copy of Man of Steel, watching along with him. He brings in Cavill after the film. I'm just like, this has to be something, right? So I'm just glued, to my device there. And when Zach's like, all nonchalant, and I got something here, right? He shows Zack Snyder's Justice League 2021. I jumped up and ran around my house, man. Like I was like, finally, right? Like we're finally getting the Snyder cut. And like it was just like a celebration. Because man, it just seemed like a culmination. Like you brought up Justice League, since 2017. We was waiting for this moment to see the cut, the real cut of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we were finally promised to get it. Right? There's no more cryptic codes. We've been following all this, right? The 214s, and I've been living through all this, with all of y'all on Vero and everything, and it was finally official. It was celebration time, man. Celebration.
I'm with you on that. Like myself, I was furloughed too, and just seeing that was just so happy. So that was such a great announcement. So I totally feel you. And then when we got there, finally, March 18th, 2021, the Snyder Cut came out. How was that when you saw that movie for the first time? What was it like?
So this was cool, and actually, shout out to Tyler of Subjective Reviews. He got an early copy of the Snyder Cut, so I saw it a few days earlier. Right, me, I forgot who else was in there with me, but we saw it a little early, right? So that was kind of cool. But yeah, to see the Snyder Cut for the first time, man, I'm eating up every us Snyder fans. We're looking at everything. Okay, what's different here? What's new? So I'm just like combing through every scene of this film. And it just immediately starts off different, right? It's like, oh my goodness, like this is what we've been waiting for, man, right? So again, since 2017, and just more Ben Affleck, just being the Batman that we want to see, the Bruce Wayne we want to see. Just man, I ate up everything just watching the Snyder Cut for the first time. The Wonder Woman, the more visceral opening to the Wonder Woman scene, man. The more Cyborg, the proper Aquaman, Flash was kind of the same, really, to me, except the falling on Wonder Woman. That didn't happen, right? But
on the Speed Force scene,
what I mean? Yeah, and then you get the actual scene. But it's funny because I'm sitting there watching it, 4-hour cut, obviously, and I'm just in the moment, and it really didn't hit me until we get to the epilogue. And we get the nightmare scene. I'm just like, bro, like we see Jared Leto, we see Ben. It's like, this is nuts, man. Like, this is amazing what we're seeing right here. Finally, Zach's vision, and with a little extra, right? Because he added that nightmare after after he announced it was coming out. So man, with Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think I watched it every day after it officially came out. So I'm marking off 4 hours of each of my days, or I will go to sleep or something, but I will have it on every day. It's to me, I know a lot of people have different rankings, how they do it. I think this was Zack Snyder's most accessible film he's ever made. Zack Snyder's Justice League. I saw more normies and general people watching that, probably more so than BVS, right? Because we've been through those wars with BVS, right? And people didn't get it and stuff like that. Zack Snyder's Justice League was accessible for everyone. And then if you're a DC fan, you got, again, Gods Among Earth, like that's DC. Zack Snyder nailed it, man. And so, obviously we're pushing for more, but that was, I think, the most put together, complete film Zack Snyder's ever done. And hopefully he gets another one, right, for DC. So,
which we'll definitely get into a little bit later, but got the shirt on. Not that you can.
Oh, yeah, I got my Jim Lee. I got from Full Circle. Got to represent.
Oh yeah, nice.
yes. Both. This is wonderful.
Both great shirts. Both really great shirts to really showcase our interest in DC. And before we get into your history as a content creator, one last question. I guess we'll call it one of the bourbon questions. So, a few days after the Snyder Cut came out, of course, any smart studio would have announced the sequel that weekend. me personally, I thought, yeah, we're going to get the sequel announcement this weekend because surely after seeing the success of the Snyder Cut, they have to greenlight a sequel. There's no way they would not greenlight a sequel. And then Ann Cernoff, CEO of Warner Brothers, or don't know the exact title, but, or I guess she was technically
CEO.
Warner Media.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
But she came, that announcement that no more SnyderVerse, no Ayer cut, just a bunch of toxic fandoms. What was it like for you reading that?
So that was weird, right? Because we was on that high, right? The opening weekend. If you remember when the Snyder Cut premiered on then HBO Max, Zack Snyder and Debbie had that red carpet streaming premiere with Kevin Smith hosting, right? Kevin Smith's a good friend of Zack Snyder. They text each other all the time. So we was on that high. And literally, I think what the Snyder Cut came out, was that a Thursday or a Friday? Someone will correct me if I'm wrong with that. Thursday? Great. And by that Sunday, they Sarnoff had the article dropped on a Sunday. And I was like, what is going on? Right? Like, and she just like, killing, killing the Snyderverse right in front of our eyes. I mean, we were celebrating since that Thursday premiere. Every day we're talking about the Snyder Cut. I was planning different series on my channel because I was doing my channel by then. And I was like, oh, we're going to break down this movie. We're going to break down character profiles. We're going to look towards the future, right? I was thinking of all this stuff. Celebration time. And then she just, pulls a chair from under us. And that's when I started, I was really early on my channel. So I started looking behind the scenes more. That's what really got me into the business behind it, as I always say, with the CBM films. And we may circle back to this later, but her killing the Snyderverse, that actually started right before 2020 fandom. We thought everything was all good. They were planning to kill the Snyderverse for months before the Snyder Cut even came out. And I did videos about that. And so once all that settled in, I was like, oh man, like Warner Brothers suck. Like, that's what I thought after that.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, and we're going to get into more about how they suck later on. There will be plenty of stuff. But I guess for now, let's get into, like, what got you into first going on YouTube, starting your YouTube career? What was that like when you first started going on YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I always say, I first started on YouTube. One of the first guys I streamed was ZodWriter. Me and him was a part of the Four Nerds. So literally there was an open call on Twitter for people to join a stream to talk about, this is after the Snyder Cut was announced, was waiting for it to come out, right? So we're all on a high the rest of 2020 after May 20th, 2020. So I jumped on, I volunteered, I got picked, I got on a panel, and then the second stream I did, ZodWriter was there. And then after I did that stream with ZodWriter and the other gentleman, Four Nerds was born after that stream. Everyone was like, hey, why don't we just stream together, right? And so we started doing that stream every week with Four Nerds. I started kind of finding my voice and all this. So I finally started my channel, 2020 Fandom. I was like, I'm going to do a recap of Fandom and kind of start my thing. So that was like late summer 2020. It was Coffee Talk Zero, as I say. My first guest ever is actually in the chat, South Cali. I had him on the panel, and like my camera shut off, and like I somehow dropped out of my own stream. It went terrible, but I left it up because it's like it only got better after that. My stream, so Coffee Talk Zero, and I think I titled it Technical Difficulties. But I just wanted to get on YouTube and share my excitement for the Snyder Cut, share my excitement for DC. I thought 2020 Fandom was, a wonderful show. Like, we got some gaming. You even got Matt Reeves had that first trailer, the Nirvana trailer, which was a good trailer. I didn't like the movie, but that was a good trailer. And then Zack Snyder, I think was that the Hallelujah trailer? Dan, someone correct me if I'm wrong with that. Was that at Fandom?
Yes, the Hallelujah was Fandom.
Yeah, so I was recapping that then, and then I just kind of caught the bug, man. It's like I was excited about something. Y'all were excited about something. So I was like, let's just keep doing these streams and just talk about what we're excited about. And then leading up to the Snyder Cut releasing, Zach started dropping those little teasers. And like I was, we was covering each and every one. Like you had the Batman one, the Superman one, it was an amazing time. And, I didn't realize it then, but we were really building our community then. That's what, people call, Syl Nation. We all just, was excited that the Snyder Cut was coming out, and that's how I kind of connected with all of y'all, just sharing our excitement.
And we were all excited. That's one reason why I watched your channel. When you and Zod were on Four Nerds, at that time I watched every episode because I thought the four of you had great chemistry. And again, at the time, this was my 2020 Dan thinking. This is not my 2023 Dan thinking. I thought you were very great on Culture Nerd at that time.
Yeah.
And before we get into the branching off portion of it, what was it like, I guess, at the time when you were affiliated with Culture Nerd and stuff?
Yeah. Hey, I always say, first of all, shout out to Taylor. Me and him have talked, since, a lot of stuff that's happened with Lightcast and all that stuff. We left it on very cordial terms, after the fact. During that time, in the moment, this is when I was on Four Nerds, right? Still trying to find my legs. And that's when I met Lightcast. And Lightcast introduced me to Taylor of Culture Nerds. And so I actually started writing with Culture Nerd back then too. And then they started pulling me on the streams. And my thing, I was just like, again, I'm excited. The Snyder Cut's about to come out. So those streams, those are some of the funnest times. Like, you mentioned with Four Nerds, those are Lightcast Culture Nerd streams. It was a celebration, man. Like, man, Ben Affleck may do a Batfleck project, right? All this stuff was real at that time. They were really talking about that stuff. And so I'm just like, when I get on the panel, I'm a fan. And still to this day, I still have that same energy. I'm a fan of this stuff first. So I think I connected with a lot of people through Culture Nerd. And I'm really indebted for that with those streams with Taylor and when we was on Lightcast channel. Because a lot of people, again, saw my passion. A lot of those people kind of carried over to when I started my channel as well too. So no, it was a blast. It was a blast, man. During the time, it was fun times, man.
Right. And as I always say, no matter what happens later on, you can always be thankful for the good times you had with people at that time. But then, like everyone, you had to kind of branch off, find your own wings, and you getting hooked up with other people. So I guess, what was it like when you first branched off from Culture Nerd, first branched off from the Four Nerds? What was, I guess, kind of, with what you're comfortable talking about, what kind of led you to that decision, and what was it like after the fact?
Yeah, it was kind of a joint thing. Like when I was doing Four Nerds, then I would be guesting, with Culture Nerd. So once I wanted to branch off, it was more of a messaging type thing. I think that's probably the best way I can put it. Is that I connected with Mikey's people. I was looking for kind of like my own voice. I didn't want to be like, if I do a video, I'm just some guy representing Culture Nerd. I didn't want that for myself. Now, anyone, they can, pick however they want to do their content. I'm just saying, me personally, I didn't want to be known as that because I knew it started off like, oh, okay. You're going to talk about what did Taylor tell you, right? I just wanted to avoid that, right? So I was like, let me kind of create my own voice. And so when I connected with Mikey's people, specifically James, that James guy, y'all may have seen him once in a while on social media. I don't know if he like disappeared or something. I don't know. But shout out to you, James, if you ever see this. But he connected with Mikey through a chance meeting on Facebook. And once I connected with Mikey through Facebook, literally the rest was history because I researched Mikey like crazy. When I first saw like his first scoops, like the Michael Keaton scoop coming back, that was confirmed, obviously. And other stuff that Mikey was saying. Then I saw his Snyder Cut scoop. I was like, this guy called the Snyder Cut like months before? Like, are you serious? Right? So I'm digging into all this stuff. And I'll just say, like, everyone probably didn't do the amount of research I did on Mikey. So they wasn't sure, like, why are we gonna bring this, this other geek entity into the messaging, right? Of four nerds, or I remember telling Taylor of Culture Nerd, I was like, hey, you checked out Geekosity? Like this guy, I even talked about one of my last stream. I was with the Culture Nerd. I was talking about Michael Keaton scoop. And that's probably the last time they invited me. but it's like, but I was like, man, like, this guy has some intel as well. And around that time too, shout out to Small Screen, Edward Lauder. I was trying to just create a network of something different, right? And so why did I walk away? Just to answer your question, why did I walk away? I knew everybody wasn't jiving with different outlets and sources. So I was like, well, I'm going to kind of just take this, leap of faith and I'm going to own this and, rep for, what Geekosity was doing and it still is doing and what Mikey's doing. And that was just a whole nother wave when that started. And like I said, it's no knock on, the four nerds or Culture Nerd. They just didn't know, what Mikey was cooking, right? And I always pride myself. I have a little forethought on a lot of stuff. And I was like, yeah, this guy is on to something. And like I said, the rest was history from there.
And I really loved your partnership with Mikey Sutton. You guys have really great YouTube chemistry on your shows. I love watching you two together streaming about stuff. And props for doing your research, because that's what people need to realize before you hate on someone or blindly follow someone. Because when Mikey first came on, me personally, at first, I didn't believe or disbelieve him. I just watched your shows with Mikey, and then I just paid attention. And when I saw stuff started becoming true, I'm like, wow, Mikey is legit. It's not really that hard.
And Mikey would be the first to tell you, and Mikey's in the chat. Shout out to Mikey in the chat. Mikey gets early, and I'm starting to learn. Mikey gets stuff early. And so, yeah, things can change and things like that, right? But usually, even when something changes, when Mikey tells you something, somehow it's confirmed. His original story is confirmed that, yeah, it was going to be this, but it changed. It's so eerie, right? The way Mikey,
or even the Hunter
confirmed.
In Spider-Man in No Way Home, yeah, because Tom Holland confirmed that.
It's uncanny, right? It's uncanny how this happens with Mikey, and so that's why, like, he's just like nonchalant. And like when I talk about, like, we want the SnyderVerse, like we're serious about this, like it's like our life, right? And Mikey's just all calm, like, yeah, the Snyder Cut's coming out, whatever, that's his approach. And so when he gets confirmed, it's just very like out of nowhere. No one else is like that. And like, I kind of developed my own style, but like with Mikey, I mean, that took my channel, being a channel that I was like hovering a couple hundred subs, it just shot up and got, monetized because, like you said, that chemistry. And we're actually, we actually talk, we chat and stuff off the air as well too. And so I think that comes across, and that still comes across to this day, though Mikey's getting more busy. I'm getting more busy as well too. But no, this super team up. I mean, Dreamwalker, the live action still didn't come out yet. Like, it's gonna be a whole nother level when this stuff goes to another level. You know what I'm saying? So what me and Mikey started is real chemistry, and it's a natural progression. And I'm forever indebted for that, because that someone said, like, some black guy. That's how it started. You get this guy with all these scoops getting confirmed. I was just like, I'm just gonna play my role with this, right? Like, we're just gonna ride this out. And like you said, it's magic, man. It's magic anytime we stream.
It really was. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mikey reported with some Warner Brothers executive referring to you. It was like Mikey and some black guy. That's what it was, a Warner. That is so
it was funny though, because it's like, we just started Rogues, right? I think it was early 22, 21, I forget. But 21, I think. And in April 2021, we started Rogues Gallery. And it's like, I was just like, yo, I'm gonna just grab on the coattails here, right? I'm just trying to, make some content. This guy, Mikey, saying we have hope, and so I was like, that's my role in this. So there's like, oh, some black guy. I was like, hey, whatever, right? I think I stopped putting my name on my streams for like a month. I just did hashtag some black guy. If you go back to those streams, and we just have fun with it, man. That was the whole thing. I was like, I'm having fun with it. We're hearing there's a chance, right? And we're gonna have fun. Rogues became like its own entity, bro, around that time. So a lot of fun with that.
And just so you know, for people in the chat, I'm glad to have trolls in here. It really, because I know when you have trolls, it means your channel is getting somewhere. So,
for
shout
sure.
out to you, because I know you've dealt with a lot of that. I remembered when you first branched out with Mikey, all of these. And again, it's just it was always so weird to me, because if you're just not interested in certain content, there's a very simple solution to that. Don't watch it.
Well, I look at it, and especially on Twitter, I'm gonna start, grifting betas more, because the more they engage with you on Twitter now, if you get the blue check, if you subscribe to it, you get ad revenue, right? So it's like, hey, I welcome all opinions. What I did, and Dan, you probably saw this from the beginning, and this is what I said for myself: always research things. Anyone can say anything on social media. Like, literally, you can hide behind anything. You could say, you could be tough online. But if you literally look at the information and the facts, those are the people I'm after. I'm like, Dan, you realize this, like when someone, they will say, oh, I heard this, so-and-so is happening, right? They'll put it in the chat on any of my streams. Well, I say, well, what's the source of it? Where'd you get it from? All right? Because that matters, right? So anyone can say anything, but if you actually search through and, get the information, or critical thinking, as I always said, those are the people that I actually target for my channel. And that's kind of what Syl Nation's become, where we don't just believe any blatant statement that's thrown out there. We actually research it. So.
And that's always great. You give the information that you hear, not the information you want to hear. And by the way, if the troll comes back in the chat, please include me in your nickname next time. I feel so left out when you're never included in these nicknames.
I'm be honest. I don't. Maybe I'll get more trolling after this, but it's flattering actually. Like the people devote their time. Again, how did it start with me? Just some black guy, right? And the fact that people take their time and make fake accounts about me, like I'm like, hey, that's it's kind of cool actually. I'm just saying, I don't know if they realize that.
It's like the Zack Snyder haters who don't do anything but talk about Zack Snyder.
Because it's like this is the thing. If the person didn't matter, you wouldn't go through all this effort, right? So, man, maybe we're really doing something, in our corner of this geekdom, for people to really take their time out and do that. So I don't. I'm be honest. I really don't take it personally. I don't accept when they try to like attack my viewers and things like that. I don't like that. But anything with me, it's like, bro, it's really not that big of a. At the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal. We're talking about comic book movies. You know what I'm saying? Like we're talking about, I like this movie or I don't like this movie. And I know social media that triggers people, so I get it. But I take it all in. I take in like people that's wanting to be a part of Syl Nation. I take that in, but also I take in the trolling too, because it's like, hey, we must be doing something very interesting for people to take the time out and troll it. So hey, that's a badge of honor, Dan. If that continues, I say embrace it, bro. Embrace it. Me and you talked about that before too. I ain't gonna put it all out there, but just I ain't gonna say the situation, Dan. But me and you talked about that right before, and I was like, bro, actually, I don't mind. I don't need y'all to block everyone every stream unless they're getting personal against y'all or something. They could call me, yo, Syl's gotten everything wrong. Is that really true? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. I got so many geek sites with my confirmation, so they can shout that to the wind all day. Is that even true? Okay, you just move on. You just move on from there. I'd rather you say I hate Syl. Like, okay.
And again, that's my thing. Trolls, they're at the end of the day, they're amusing, and yeah. Again, people who follow you know that you report what you hear, not what you want to hear. And I want to kind of start with when you first started streaming with Mikey, it was what we call, it was back when, I guess you can kind of say that's when you coined this certain term where the Flash was going to erase the SnyderVerse and I guess it was going to wipe Ben Affleck out of existence or something like that. What was the term that you and Mikey came up with at that time?
Ooh, I'm trying to remember where you're going with that.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Go drinking a
Oh,
lot.
the bourbon. Are you talking about the bourbon? Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, because
Yes.
that was. This is the funny thing, right? The irony of all this, like you said, Dan, we gave y'all hope, right? But the first few times Mikey was on my channel, it wasn't about hope, bro. Like it was like it's over. It was like SnyderVerse is over. Ben is gonna die in the film. I remember Mikey did an article, and again, that's why eventually we started talking about scoop commentary because the story evolves, right? Things change. And originally, Mikey was like, "Oh, it's gonna be akin to like a Crisis on Infinite Earth." If you remember, if people read the comic, Flash and Supergirl perished in that comic line, and there's gonna take elements of that, and that's how Ben was gonna perish in the film, right? So it's like, this wasn't good news. This wasn't good. And like you said, it became like that bourbon. That's what the several streams. Then Mikey came back. He said, "I'm hearing about J.J. Abrams' plans, right? All the plans he never will end up doing. You know, we know what's going on with Abrams now." That was some of my most uncomfortable streams I've ever had, and somehow the community grew through that. I don't know how, but it did. And but then all of a sudden, that very next month, Mikey came back and he said, "Hey, I'm hearing Ben actually may do more." And that's when that hope started. And all of a sudden you hear Ben, then they added him to the Flash film. He wasn't in there eventually, but then he was added to the Flash film, not to die in the Flash film. And then you heard about the Ben Affleck project, that really was a real thing. And that was multiple times Ben was going to do that. And that's when the hope started, and so it started off as bourbon, but then we had that period of hope too, which is good.
And with Mikey Sutton, I want to kind of point out too, he was the first one a year ago to report Henry Cavill in Black Adam. No one else has said this a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Well,
like,
2 years
what was
ago
that
now,
like
right?
when you? Yeah, 2 years. Oh yeah, 2 years ago. Man, math is hard sometimes. But yeah, 2021. No one else said this. But what was that like when you first heard that?
It was so cool because I had that stream with Mikey, and I remember people scoffing at that years ago, right? They were just like, "Oh yeah, Cavill's done." The Rock, he would never let someone upstage him. Now that's true, but The Rock found a way to work in Cavill like that, right? And so that was so cool having Mikey say that, live on my stream, seeing the betas getting all upset about it. And hey, it ended up being true, right? So, hey, I'm just saying, when we say Mikey's a time traveler, that's how he does his information. That's why it's like when Mikey puts out something, like you look at the information and then you literally just gotta give it time because it literally takes time. You gotta make it to the future because he just came back from there. And then if something changes, you'll see how what it originally said was really the plan. At that time. So that was so cool getting that scoop on my channel, Cavill. And I know we'll get to the point when I got my sources. It was cool kind of corroborating that and kind of putting my spin to what Mikey, broke, years before. So now, it's exactly how it should feel. That's why it's so cool seeing Sky stream with Mikey more because now he's getting like these Mikey bombs, it's just out of nowhere. And that's literally how I felt, a couple years ago, and still feel when Mikey breaks stuff on my channel. So it's so cool that people are getting that experience, working with Mikey as well, too.
Hopefully Sky can get some more bombs from Mikey when it's actually positive news and not all bourbon news. I won't be honest, Night Shift is a little depressing right now because Because I'll be honest with you, I don't even like hearing good Marvel news when we have bad DC news. It's actually worse hearing good Marvel news alongside the bad DC news.
I tell you, I've been starting to get more insider Marvel stuff. A little plug for members level 2 and above on the Syl Abdul Geek Network. Been hearing stuff. I talk about the Marvels. I kind of spoiled the ending to that already. I'm not going to spoil it here, but the future of Avengers, a lot of cool stuff. I'm starting to get a little Marvel stuff, though I'm more of a DC guy. And I'm a little happier talking Marvel, I guess, lately instead of DC.
I mean, I'm the same way. Well, I'll put it like this, Necron. The only bad Marvel news is for DC fans seeing how good Marvel's doing as compared to DC. That's the bad news that's the bad Marvel news at this point.
I tell you, Marvel, well, the good news is more good news that they're doing less films per year and less series. That's good news. That means their quality is going to go up now. Like Marvel, Iger is going to have them on the back on the right track, man. It's so crazy because we could at least had a couple of DC bangers until Marvel figured it out. But of course, Warner's dropped the ball on that. So
again, it feels like every time DC has a chance to catch up to Marvel, they drop the ball. The Snyder Cut, they could have caught up after Endgame. They screwed up. And we'll definitely get into the whole Cavill situation later on. But, I mean, okay, El Necron does have a good point, though. We do have Creature Commandos for DC. So, I mean, we shouldn't completely complain.
So I'm going to say this, and I'm starting to get some kind of knock from certain people. If y'all caught the member stream I did earlier this afternoon, shout out to Jules. She joined the panel. And she said, "Sir, you're a little too nice on this James Gunn stuff, bro. Like I'm a supreme optimistic DC person. I just am until I see it's really bad." Right? So I know we joke about Creature Commandos. All I'm saying is that it may be something cool in there. Don't throw tomatoes at me, okay? But I would rather have Midnight Suns for sure.
I mean, I'll be honest. I saw some of your members' videos, and I'll put it like this. I feel like if James Gunn has some good ideas that if executed properly could be pretty cool. But the key term, if executed properly.
Execution. I lean on that totally. And I think I go a step further, definitely execution, but then Gunn has to hire the right person to execute it as well, too. I don't mind Muschietti. I know people, they're mixed about him, about the Flash film as far as out there. Amongst us that likes the Flash film, I want to see what Muschietti got doing more Batman, right? He did great Batman stuff in the Flash film. So, like you said, Dan, it's about execution always.
And before we move on to the next topic, I guess you mentioned the term beta. So for anyone watching this, what is a beta exactly?
It's so funny. I'm trying to think. What did I think I thought of that when I started getting a little more attention on my channel. And yeah. I know specifically. It was the main beta, which y'all know who that is if y'all watch my channel. This person blocked me on Twitter. Like, this is the definition of a beta. They block you on Twitter, or this is an example of a beta. And then somehow they still get a screenshot of your tweet and talk about you on their Twitter account, but you're blocked. Or I think this is even like more rancid. They block you and you don't block them back. So they unblock you to quote tweet you, talk shit about you, and then block you again. That's not alpha. That's not manly at all. Like, that's literally beta activity. Or like, making 100 accounts, burner accounts, like hiding behind burner. That's beta. That's the definition of a beta. I respect, I'm not going to name this person, but he may have burners too because he's a weirdo. But it was some dude in the chat. Y'all may know who I'm talking about. He can't really speak that well. And I'm not trying to make fun of people that can't speak English well, but he's one of the most worst speakers. I don't know why he still does videos on YouTube, if he still does. But he can't articulate nothing. I don't even understand what this guy is saying. But at least he appeared as himself trying to talk shit about me, right? I was like, hey, I respect it. You trash, but I respect that. But people that hide behind burner accounts and try to, say nonsense, that's literally beta behavior. And you're literally who we're talking about when we say beta, which is, if you don't realize, that's opposite of alpha. So it has nothing to do like what you do in your spare time. It's just, I look at people, you stand behind what you say. If you're hiding behind what you say, you're a beta. APAS know what I'm talking about. I'll talk about several people, but she know who I'm talking about. If you hide behind burners, you're a beta. And so you kind of prove yourself every time you make a burner account to talk shit. So yeah. It fits.
Actually, I just added a whole topic just with this because it really hit my mind, is because in Dreamwalker, Sylver kills betas. What was that like, finding out that you were going to be not only a comic book character, seeing that comic character come to life in the actual... Like, what was that like in Dreamwalker? Which, for those of you who don't know, I interviewed Mikey Sutton about this two Bat Dan's interviews episodes ago, where we talk about him incorporating us all in the comic books. What was it like finding this out about this?
Insane, right? That, when Mikey broke that news to me, and, obviously it's like, Mikey was talking about doing it. He was sharing with me, different story ideas. And that's when, the whole Alice idea came about, with Alicia. So it was like an exciting time. But then to finally see the world-renowned artist, Noel Leon Flores, his drawing of me biting a beta, I was just like, I'm cemented in history now. Like, this is going to live on for generations, this Dreamwalker comic. And, I'm, basically going to be a part of pop culture. All of us are now, with Mikey incorporate this. So it's just very cool to really see this. And then to the meta part about it, like the Easter eggs about it. The first couple issues of Dreamwalker, I mean, just some of the coolest things, because the creator behind it, right? How many comic books can you buy, a high quality comic book with a world-renowned artist and troublemaker, Noel Leon Flores, doing the art? How many comics can you go and buy from the store and like know all the inside jokes, right? And that's what we're getting as a community, as far as with the Mikey verse, with Dreamwalker. And so, man, to see, me finally depicted, that's when it kind of set in. And then when actually issue 2 was released and like my family started buying it and stuff, I was like, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. And so we all along for the ride, like whatever Mikey is up to with this Dreamwalker stuff, man. And eventually live action, looking forward to that for sure. So we're going to keep, definitely bringing that awareness to Dreamwalker. We are like on the front lines of this. And once it hits live action, it's a whole nother level when it hits live action, man. So I'm really, really excited to see what happens next, for sure, with that there. Mikey said you're going to be in issue 6. Oh, my goodness. That dude.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Oh, my God. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to see my character depicted. But the reason I left real quickly is, again, I wanted to get this out. Dreamwalker. I think this is issue 2. Now, it's so funny. With issue 2, I have multiple issues. I meant to not open one of them, but I forgot which one was the one I opened. So now I have 2 issue 2s open. So hold on a second. I gotta pull this out. Oh, thank you, Omnicron. Here we go. Here is the Sylver, and when Syl gets back on cam, we'll compare the 2 side by side. Wait, that's the super rare edition?
Sorry about that.
Oh, then I would definitely not have opened this one if I had known that, but too late now. But, I mean, just look at Syl right here. This is Sylver. This is Syl. I mean...
Oh, it's crazy.
And then we gotta pull this up. Here we go.
Biting the betas.
You're on mute.
I'm on mute. Am I on mute right now?
Yeah, I
No?
can't.
No? Can't hear me? No?
Unplug
Okay.
and replug.
Okay.
Well, that's James Gunn for you. I'm gonna blame James Gunn for this one. Trying to knock out Sylver, but oh, hold on. Got some tape on here.
All right. We good now?
Still
Yep.
on mute.
I'm on mute. I'm not on
Wait,
mute.
let me just make sure. Is it not if it's me or the chat? Let me try.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, I'm sorry. It was me, not you.
It was you? Okay. Oh, everyone else can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, I should have actually checked the chat.
But yeah, as far as it's so cool. I wish I would have had that original picture what Noel based it off of. Because it's literally, carbon copy of the real thing. That's why I call him a world-renowned artist. I mean, if y'all know Leon Flores' work out there, he serious art for sure.
I mean, guess what? In case you're curious what happened, I accidentally pressed a button on my headsets. That's so.
Well, Nightwing said just blame James Gunn. Yeah, just blame James Gunn.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame James Gunn for that. Which next time Moral of the Story, I'll make sure to check the chat next time. But one more thing with Sylver. What was it like? Now we can't say where this is going to be. We both know, but when you found out you were going to be your character was going to be live action on a streaming service to be named, what was that like for you?
Oh, my first thing when Mikey told me about that, I said, I need to be on set, bro. Like I was like, I need to see this happen, like, in person, right? Insane, right? I mean, again, it's the fact there's a character based off of you, and the comic alone is great. Live action, it's like, just the audience that's going to reach on a streamer to be named. Amazing stuff. I just can't wait to see all this come together for live action and just what comes, after that. The novels and all kinds of stuff that Mikey's talking about doing. This is like our own lane, and that's why I told a lot of my viewers when this whole Dreamwalker thing started, I said, man, like embrace this. Like this is us creating our own lane. This is what Dreamwalker is to me personally. And so it's like, invest in it, get those rare issues. The prices are going up on those variant covers. Like, now it's confirmed it's getting a live action adaptation from a quality production company and a world, like an international superstar director as well. This is getting big, y'all, right? And so, jump on that bandwagon now and embrace it, because like this is, for our community first, and then everyone else is going to kind of catch up, to it as well. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with this live action, and when it finally debuts, like I can't wait to the behind the scenes stuff. I'm gonna try to get a lot of behind the scenes stuff when they start filming. I'm definitely gonna try to be on set a couple of times. So.
And not that there's any issues available right now, but just in case somehow you can get it, I did put the link to Second Skin Comics in the chat, so
yeah,
have that link going ready to be big.
Yeah, once Mikey says, hey, it's gonna go pre-order this day or whatever, y'all better get your copies as soon as possible. These are collector's items. This is an independent comic, so this is not like just a regular big three comics or whatever they doing out there. These are collector's items. I've seen it for myself. eBay prices, for some of these things. I missed out on a lot of. I could have made money already off of some of these comics. So when they come on sale, make sure they're going to sell out. Just make sure you get your copies for sure.
And I guess, Syl, you're going to be at Comic-Con in 2024.
Well, I've been planning, right? It would have been this year if things didn't really kind of go wacky with everything. As far as with no one at Comic Con really, but the comic book people are at Comic Con this year. I'm planning on being out there San Diego 2024. And like I said, I'll talk with Mikey and any of his people representing Dreamwalker. Let's try to get a booth, man. Let's try to get a booth 2024. I'm sure by then we'll know about some casting choices. Let's go all out. 2024 San Diego Comic-Con. Yes.
And before we move on from the Dreamwalker, I just want to point out to anyone who does not know, Dreamwalker is a British Asian show, so they are not affected at all by the actor strike or the writer's strike. So, if anything, the only way they'll be affected is they will come out on blank when not a lot of other shows are coming out.
Yeah. It's not stopping the production, because if people realize, right now, and I don't want to speak for Mikey here, he may say it in the chat, but I'm assuming they're kind of getting all their scripts together, their blueprints together for the series and things like that. If this was under, the SAG or the WGA, union, they had to stop. They would have to stop pre-production right now, right? So, just fortunately, Mikey and 108 Media, the production company, they're not affected by this. And, the production charges on for Dreamwalker. So that's a silver lining for that.
Mr. J does have a good point, too. Apparently, Gun's not affected by it either.
Well, according to, correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys, Gunn said a couple weeks ago during the strike that he's knee deep. What did he say? He's deep into Superman and Creature Commandos. How are you in these productions if you're on strike? I don't know how you're deep in. I really don't know. I mean, if someone could let me know, through a burner account or something, let me know. How's he deep into these productions right now? The writers, at that time, the writers was on strike. So you can't write nothing at that point, right? I mean, I'm assuming. Is those the rules? And now, of course, now the actors, they had to announce all those actors, those castings, because, the actor strike is now. So, hey, that's my 2 cents.
We'll definitely get a lot more into what's going on with that later on, but I will say sometimes I feel like Gunn's just using the line between writer and director. When you're directing and writing, I guess maybe Gunn's loophole will be, well, that's just me as a director, not me as a writer.
And Gunn he's a slitherly dude like that, right? Because the directors, the directors union, they did agree to their new deal. So Gunn being the director, yeah, he could do like practical stuff without the writers, but he's the writer of the production, right? So technically he got his director's deal, his union deal, he's all set. It's the writing part that he has to wait on. So yeah, a little slithery guy right there, James Gunn.
He is, I'll say this about James Gunn. He is no people's champ. But you know who is a people's champ? You. So how did you get the nickname the people's champ?
Insane, right? Because it's funny. And I'm so glad you highlighted like how it started. Just hashtag some black guy. I was happy with that because I was like, I don't know anybody in the industry. I don't care, right? And so there was this fan vote on a certain YouTube channel where they were saying, a part of this circle or just this corner, it was a lot of like cross viewership, multiple channels. I think it's more of a distinction now. I don't know. But a couple years ago, I think that was had to be 2021. 2022. It was 2022. They were like, hey, we're about to do like this fan vote, right? Who's it was either the best? Who's your favorite YouTuber? That's pretty much it. Just what it was. Who's your favorite YouTuber? Now it had to be 21 because I just started doing my channel, so I was like, I should be in the new YouTube category. So this was 2 years ago. I was like, I should be in the new YouTuber category. I would kill that category, right? But they put me in the main category. Who's your favorite YouTuber? I was like, I'm literally going to lose this. Like, there's some people on that list. I watched them, and they got more subs than me. You know, I thought more of a following as well, right? And just something happened where I started off like in like third place, and I would have been happy with third place in that fan vote, and it's like a rocket, bro. Like just literally overnight. Just the people spoke, right? And so I was joking online. I was like, my thing, I was like, I'm still gonna lose. But I was like, but the people was voting for me, right? That was my whole thing. And so that's why I was like playing around online. I was like, oh, people's champ. Right. So even if I lose, the people was showing out for me. And it kind of stuck, man. And it still triggers people, I guess, to this day as well. But I'm just gonna just full disclosure, I didn't get nothing from winning that fan vote, right? I didn't like get like a trophy or money or anything. It was just for fun. And I thought that's what we was all in it for. Just for fun, get your community excited about it, right? And that's when I really realized, that's when the Syl, just side note, that's when the whole Syl Nation thing started too, Dan, because it was like people's champs. I was like, oh, Syl Nation showing up to vote. And so that's when we started dubbing Syl Nation because of the people's champ, the fan voting. I won the vote by a landslide. To this day, I still don't know how that happened, but then seeing how my channel grew from then as well, I was like at 1,000 subs. All of a sudden, I was at 2,000 after the vote. The people showed up. So, people's champ. I know some people say, "Oh, someone took that name already." Yeah, whatever. People's champ, it's stuck. That just is what it is. And I told them if they do another fan vote, it doesn't even matter who will win because the people already spoke a couple years ago. So.
Actually, Marcus says a good point. Yeah, it kind of just cut the grass so all the snakes came out, and that's unfortunately what happened. Is people got way too upset over a stupid fan vote. I mean, there were, and I'm not going to name any names on this show, but there were a lot of people I had great respect for who really acted like sore losers over a stupid contest. Who cares?
This is a sad thing. The sad thing, Dan, is like I would have happily lost to any of them that were mad about it. I would have been like, yo, my thing again, I knew this was 2021. So my channel was still new. I wasn't even like a year into this. So I was like, if I'm in the top 3, that's a W, right? Because I'm just getting started. And so if I had lost to any of these guys, I would have been like, yo, Syl Nation, like, we're like in the top 5 and we're just getting started, right? I would have been excited about that. But all those people that got mad, they really didn't know me. Some of them I did reach out to them to be like, yo, like my viewership, it's an overlapping in viewership. So we're not like, I'm not telling people, to hate you or, you know what I mean, or anything like that. I saw all the comments. People say I watch both of these channels and I'm not going to, say anything bad about either of us. And I was like, I respect it. That's what I want. Just let's have fun with it. And it stopped being fun like as soon as I won. So that is what it is. It's unfortunate though, Dan, because you kind of got a good sense of my character over the last, 3 years or beyond, with Lightcast and stuff. And I wasn't trying to like have no smear campaign against anyone. I would have cheered for them if they won. I would have been happy for whatever place I got in that vote. I just happened to win, so yes, I guess talk more shit. So that's just.
I guess it was Marcus who coined the People's Champ.
I'm pretty sure I steal from Marcus and Mr. J 310 all the time, so I'm pretty sure it's one of them. I appreciate those all the slick stuff I say. I'll just say it now since we're interviewing this here. And all the cool memes as well. It's usually Neo Sevens Marcus or Mr. J 310. And then any like little quippy pun stuff, it's probably the good Austin. So I grip from people all the time. But they know I respect them and I love any ideas I get. So
and you really, but in my opinion, you really earned that. Even after you won, you did a lot of stuff that really, I feel like really branched you out a lot more. You started you started getting your own scoop. So this is where we're going to go into. I actually changed this topic
like
because
this.
you said you're not a scooper, but the good,
I like
the
that.
bad, and the Clooney. So
Mhm.
I guess
That's
your
good.
very first big scoop was, it's kind of sad bringing it up today of all days since they officially announced that the scene's being cut, but Ben Affleck in Aquaman 2, you announced it, and did it get confirmed the next day that Ben Affleck was on set?
Oh man, it was crazy. So this was late July, right, 2022. A source reaches out to me because again, I had no scoops before then. I was just riding on Mikey's coattails, right, up to that point. And that's why I tell people that do content. Just a side note: if you do content, I just keep putting out content. Shout out to Jared of a Comics League. That's why I told him too. I was like, whatever your lane, just keep doing it because people are going to discover it off of what you do. And so what I was doing up to that point, it made industry sources reach out to me. And it was like, we see you're a Snyder fan. You want to see the SnyderVerse continue. I can't guarantee that, but you're going to be excited to know what's coming up. And I was like, okay, you got my attention, right? You got my attention with this. And so they was like, I'm going to tell you how you're going to see the Trinity, in the next couple films. I was like, oh, this is like just insane that I'm getting this contact, right? And we'll talk about other stuff in a moment with that, but you understand the Trinity, you know what we're talking about. But the first one, they said Ben Affleck, Batman. They was like, first, they're creating multiple suits for him in the Flash film. So y'all see what happened with that. And they said he is going to be on set this month to film a scene for Aquaman 2. I'm like, we're in the last week of July right now. So I said, you mean this month or next month? Like, what's going on? They was like, this month, Ben Affleck's going to be on set. So I put the scoop out middle of that week. It was confirmed 2 days later. Jason Momoa confirmed it for me, showing that Ben Affleck was on set. Now, what's so funny, when I put that story out there, the viewers, we were saying, they sent me a picture of Ben Affleck. They say, "Oh, Ben has a beard right now. He's, vacationing with, I think it was with J-Lo then. I think he can't, and they are Ramas to the side, right? Got the fine wine, J-Lo." And they was like, he has a beard. So we said beard watch. Thank you, Marcus. We said beard watch, right? And the rest was history, man. 2 days later, he shaved the beard. He was on set. Probably the fastest scoop ever, confirmation. And literally, my Twitter exploded. My social media exploded, just like this dog exploding. Everything exploded when that happened, because it's like, yo, when I first put that story out there, people was like, no, like, Syl, you're not a scooper. No, right? It was like, slow down, right? Like, I got so many messages. People was like, but this person showed me a lot of proof, stuff I still can't, show in public, how close they were to the production is the best way I could put it. So I had confidence in it, but I still was nervous. I'm like, I never put a scoop out before. I even told Mikey. Mikey was like, what? Like, he was like, and props to Mikey. It wouldn't have spread it online as much as it did if Geekosity didn't run my scoop before it was confirmed. I put it out there 2 days before it was confirmed. Mikey put the article out a day before it was confirmed. So Mikey was right there like 24 hours later, had my back. Other industry scoopers out there and anonymous scoopers, they was upset, trying to, push back on what I was saying. They had no idea the sources I have and still have, to this day. And yeah, I'm so grateful for that Geekosity article, because that spreaded it. And once it was confirmed, man, like, I haven't looked back since, as far as with the channel, with social media. I'm branching off to other stuff as well too. But that's good though. Like you said, bittersweet, because it was true. He was on set. We know this, but the scene, we won't see the scene in theaters. At least maybe they'll leak it out, just like that Flash scene. So
Did the Flash scene actually leak, or is it just images that's leaked so far?
Just images. I am told it's going to leak though. I am told that.
Oh God, I hope so. But
Yeah.
also, Netflix just saying there's a director's cut of another film, the Flash film, especially if you wanted to test out the waters for SellZSJLToNetflix. Maybe considering purchasing the Muschietti cuts. I hope I said that name right.
Yeah. I'm more of an advocate for that today, learning that in the full Muschietti cut, it's a lot of DeLuca mandated scenes in there that was cut out from the final cut, which is really the gun cut. If we're gonna keep it real, which you saw the theatrical version, the Clooney version, that's the gun notes. You know, they cut out some scenes that was pushing forward the DCEU. There's some stuff we have not seen yet that's in this Flash film, and it's only in the 4-hour cut. So yes, I agree with you, Dan. Netflix, I say go and get that Muschietti cut because maybe some cool stuff in there. You know, if this is it for DCU under Warner's, you know, give us the whole shebang, man. Let's see all of it.
Exactly, and we'll definitely get into more Clooney soon. But another topic I want to kind of get into is the Superman scene in Black Adam. Mikey had his own initially leaked it, scooped it, whatever you want to say, but back in 2021. But then it was actually right after you went to that convention in August.
Yeah, the Emerald City Comic-Con.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember where you met Alicia and Mikey Sutton for the first time.
Yeah.
And at the airport, you confirmed you gave the exact details. Henry Cavill coming out in the smoke. Something that happened exactly in Black Adam. What was that like, getting that scene for the first time?
So this is wild, right? Yeah, I was in Seattle. I was in the hotel, the night before the flight. So I was getting messages while I was asleep. So I woke up that morning and see, they gave me more detail. Now, mind you, before I put out that story, the original scoop they gave me was, again, Ben Affleck on set. They told me about the Man of Steel suit originally in July. They just said, don't run it yet. They said, because it's too much on the nose. You don't want to burn your sources, right? So for some reason, they didn't want me to. Yeah. and so there's like Man of Steel suit. So when they messaged me that August morning, they said, okay, I saw the scene that Cavill shot. He just shot it earlier this month. Now, this corroborates with when he left the Witcher set. Supposed to have COVID. Cavill didn't have COVID. He was going to film Black Adam, right? So that all corroborates now. On hindsight, it makes sense. But at that point, it was like, yeah, Cavill just shot the scene. They couldn't get him to go to Comic-Con. He had to sign something before, so he couldn't go to Comic-Con for that. That's why that fell through. But right after that, he filmed it. So it was like, these are the details. This is what, what Cavill did, right? And so what was so crazy, that same week, there was a screening of Black Adam. And they had a faceless Superman. So I was like, oh, man, okay, I'm going against the grain again here, right? Like, no one else has this information. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm in the airport. I was like, because at that point, I was like, I got to be first. Because, I didn't solidify my name yet. Now after this Clooney stuff, I could wait like a whole month to cover stuff now. Because like just people know my sources at this point, or as far as how good they are. But at that point, I was like, I got to get this out there. Because I know there's screenings. If someone sees Cavill and reports it before I do, I'll miss out my opportunity right here, right? So that's why I was like, I'm in the airport. I'm going to put this story out there and kind of juxtaposition it with the screenings that people were saying. They say it was Face of Superman. I said, no, Cavill's there. Cavill's going to be there, y'all. And he's going to the Man of Steel suit. His interest is going to be, he's going to walk out of the smoke and dust. It's going to be short dialogue, and that's it. It's not going to be like a full scene. The video's out there, right? The video, people can, that's why I say people research. It's out there for you. Right?
Link in the chat, too. burn the description afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so that's why I did it from the airport. I was just like, hey, I'm still trying to build a track record. I better get this story out there as soon as possible so people know that, hey, we kind of legit out here, right? From our sources. And once that scene leaked, leading up to Black Adam, it was just insane seeing Cavill literally walk out of the smoke and dust, like the details told me, with the Man of Steel suit. And like I said, that just, again, another kind of notch, in this little leaking career. And man, it was crazy. It was crazy, but we got it out there, and it's there. It's there for history. It's cemented.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest though, I cannot watch that scene anymore because at this point it is too depressing for me to see. Like, I've never watched Black Adam after that announcement because that is just so
because we were supposed to get that Superman versus Black Adam. I mean, that's what The Rock was setting up. And may have took 2 or 3 films to do that, but that's what it was going to be. Superman versus Black Adam. According to Mikey, you would have had the JSA versus JL as well in part 3. That's what The Rock was setting up. Just enough people didn't go see the film. If the Black Adam would have got about 600 million, history would be different right now with DC, for sure.
Oh, yeah. It would have been completely different right now. Like, for example, we'll kind of get into this. So when James Gunn and Peter Safran, when they were announced as co-heads of DC, that threw everyone for a loop. Even you. Even Mikey, everyone. That was like, what? How did that happen? Like,
this was crazy. I was in a Twitter space that morning. Now, my source actually reached out to me that morning. Now, again, they can look it up if they want. It's a Twitter space. That morning, I was talking about DC stuff. I got the text message before the article dropped. They said, you would not believe this. They said Safran's head of DC, and he wants his boy James Gunn in on this. And I was like, I don't believe it. Right? I trust you, but I'm not going to tweet this out, And then THR, shout out to THR, Boris Kitt, ran the exclusive. It's certain stories. That's why I say, like, at certain times, I don't want to like tell y'all bad news. I had that story, and I happily did not run that first. And people's like, oh, you're just trying to scoop. No, hey, if I have the scoop, I'm going to do it. If someone else has a scoop, I will praise them as well, too. All I'm saying is I knew that morning that Safran and Gunn was co-heads of DC Studios, and I just didn't want to believe it. I just didn't want to believe it. And at that point, I'm like, this is literally days after Cavill says he's back on Instagram. And he does that interview with Josh Horowitz, where he's like, I'm back as Superman. Days later, Gunn and Safran is hired. So, yeah, to answer your question, it caught us all off guard. It caught us all off guard. But now we kind of see why that, not saying we agree with it, but why does Zaza make this decision, this direction? But no, it was out of nowhere, bro. Left field. Right there.
Because I remember actually because when Cavill did that interview with Josh Horowitz, I try to pronounce that wrong. He actually, they even asked Cavill about working with Gunn, and Cavill was being Cavill was excited to work with Gunn, and we know how that ended because, you heard it first. You posted that Death of Justice League. It was like a few days before, a week before.
Yeah, it was a week.
The big announcement.
Yeah, I heard before the Cavill Instagram. That's what I think what you're talking about. When Cavill said he's done, I heard a week before. So if y'all follow me on Twitter, again, I hate giving y'all bad news. So I was like, I'm just going to kind of be cryptic with this. And so I posted, they told me, they said, SnyderVerse JL out. This is another source. Other source, because once you put out information, other people give you more information because they see, you have a legit source, right? So I got other sources off of the Ben Affleck scoop. And so they came in, they're probably a little more plugged into Gunn's circle. And they were like, SnyderVerse JL is out. It was like, Cavill, like, Batman, all of them. Gal. I know people are still having a question mark about Gal Gadot. Since last year, I heard Gal is out, right? She may produce a Wonder Woman project because of a contract with her production company, but I'm hearing Gal is out as Wonder Woman. But I'll put that picture of Death of Justice League. That's Justice League 50 for you comic book people out there, where the Justice League is taken off the board, right? Setting up the Titans for the comics. But I was like, that was my way of saying it's over, y'all. Like it's over under Warner's, under Gunn. A week later, Cavill Instagrammed that message. Gunn confirmed that Ben would not be in the DCU. Then Momoa is coming out. He's going to be Lobo. Ezra Miller is not going to be in the DCU. You already know Ray Fisher's not working with James Gunn. And like I said, Gal Gadot is probably the last piece that people still got to come to grips with. She's not going to be in the DCU, guys. Gal, she's an international superstar. So she's going to do her thing with Netflix, especially if the sale happens with Netflix as far as other productions, but even DC stuff, hopefully. Gunn is going to do his own JL team going forward. They don't want to pay. I'm going to say this real quick. They don't want to pay Gal. Just to make this clear, like why. They don't want to pay Cavill. They don't want to pay Ben. When you pay Ben, you got to get Artist Equity, his production company, him and Matt Damon. You got to have them a part of everything. Zaslav said no. And with Gal Gadot, you got to have her Pilot Wave production company. And she got $20 million from that last Wonder Woman film. Zaslav said no. So, yeah, that's the Justice League, Dan. You caught it. That was bad news. I hate giving y'all bourbon. It may seem like I don't mind with Mikey, but I hate giving y'all bourbon like that.
And it was hard. I mean, it was definitely hard for me. Especially during Christmas time of all times, getting this news. It was, I mean, I broke my because in December, I only want to talk about Christmas-related videos for my theme, and then I totally broke that theme for my 30-minute rant video on the whole issue. It was depressing for us all.
Hey, I'm going to say this, like, and I'm glad you're bringing this up now because, you know, I had months to kind of recover from what happened last December. That was tough, man. It was tough for my channel. It was tough for viewership. A lot of the Snyder onlys turned on me when that happened. Syl Nation always held me down, but no, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that didn't hurt my viewership. No, that definitely hurt when Cavill said that he was out. I felt, and I know this isn't true, but I'm just saying, just in the moment, I felt like, oh man, like, was I selling people something, you know, that was not going to happen, right? Because like I said, we're still human behind this, right? And I want anything I was reporting, I wanted to happen so bad. Hearing that Cavill was going to be in the Flash film, I wanted everyone to see that, right? I want everyone to see that scene. And we know that's been pulled, right? And then to hear, you know, he's supposed to do the Superman vs. Black Adam, Man of Steel 2. Cavill was going to be in Aquaman 2 as well, too. All this, he never filmed that, though. All this was pulled, right? So I felt bad. I felt bad for my viewers. And I understood, like, you know, people, you know, they felt some kind of way, saying, oh, you know, was I, you know, selling false hope? I was like, hey, man, like, we're just going to ride this out. Y'all realize Gunn vetoed all this. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all realize this. But, you know, that was tough. That was tough for a channel. Like, I really started like, man, like, you know, am I even going to still do this? You know what I mean? I haven't told anyone else this, but I was like, this was such a 180 for all the momentum that me and Mikey was building up. For Gunn to come in and be like, no, you know, I was like, man, like, do I even have like a lane in this anymore? You know, now, I mean, I realize what I'm doing now, but just at that moment, man, like you said, we all felt bad. Dan, yes, because we're still fans. We're still fans, even for doing content. I won't do anything. I won't cover anything unless I'm a fan of it. And so I wanted everyone to see what I was hearing about the Flash film, and just sadly that cut was not released. So yeah, that was tough, man. It really took me a couple months to really figure out like, how I'm gonna go forward with my content because I had a lot riding on Cavill being back, right? That was like the center. You know what I mean? I know the Ben Affleck stuff was great, but I had so much Cavill stuff. I mean, y'all probably realize my sources are pretty close with Cavill. I'll just say it like that, right? I had so much stuff with Cavill and so much stuff to come in the future. And so that pulled the rug under all of us, bro. Real talk. That pulled the rug on all of us. Yes.
I do just want to kind of point out to some of these people who may have turned on you. You and Mikey said over and over again to support Black Adam. They chose to ignore you. They're like, no, that's not going to matter. I mean, you can say all you want that what it should or shouldn't have done. The reality is you didn't listen to Syl's advice, and now Cavill's not coming back. You can't call someone a liar when you don't do the thing that they advise you to do. Cavill announced he was back, and now he's not back. They paid for a scene in the Flash film that they're not using. I know people hate the "it changed" excuse, but what more proof do you need that something changed?
It literally changed, right?
It's right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's the human part of it, Dan, right? It's like, and hopefully I'll never lose that in its content creation, but it's like, again, as a fan, I was just so disappointed. But those who felt like I was trying to mislead them or something, again, it comes back to that research, right? That's what I realized. Like, and again, shout out to Syl Nation, shout out to the members, the patrons. Like, I didn't lose the patrons during that time, and everyone with that, just those that really were supporting what we were doing. That made me realize, okay, those who really was following what we were saying this whole time, y'all know what changed, right? Like, y'all still to this day, people are like, oh no, Zach was never coming back. SnyderVerse was never going to get a last run. It's well documented now. I'm sorry. I got to start calling out people who just don't read, and just go off of what they hear from, whatever. So yeah, those who turned on, I guess, my information, because I mean, Mikey can speak for himself, but just as far as my information, I think I've been very consistent, and it's literally like a trail of like what changed. That's what we call it again, scoop commentary. Things can change, and we liken that to sports commentary. If you watch ESPN, I always use this example. Tom Brady was supposed to retire 2 years ago, right? He retired, and then you start hearing murmurings. I'm hearing Tom Brady's coming back for one more season. So does that make the first guy a liar that said he retired? No, because Tom Brady really was retiring. But then something changed, right? All of a sudden he got a divorce and he played one more season, right? So, hey, that's what happens, right? But I do feel the trajectory of what we were doing last year leading up to Black Adam, that was like the first crescendo, because I think more is going to come, the more that we do. But that moment right there where you knew Cavill was back and we was like, yo, go support Black Adam, bro. You have no idea like what's going to come. And then Cavill saying he's back, Josh Horowitz, I'm thinking, yo, y'all about to get everything, because what I'm hearing, y'all about to see it. And like I said, to see that go 180, hey, those who didn't support Black Adam, I mean, I'm sorry, man. I can't call y'all Cavill fans. I can't say you're a fan of Henry Cavill if you did not support Black Adam. If you got some reasonings. Now, there's some people that say that after the fact, when they learned that Cavill was in Black Adam, they were going to see it. I'm sorry, like, if y'all were following Syl Nation, y'all knew to be their opening weekend. And, we're still growing, so I get it. But, man, that was the time to support a DC film, was Black Adam, October 2022. All right? That was the time, because you were going to get, at the very least, more Henry Cavill Superman. We can talk about everything else later, but you were going to get Henry Cavill Superman more.
Oh, yeah. We would have gotten so much content with Henry Cavill, with so much great stuff we're going to get. And one thing but now instead of Cavill at the end of The Flash, we got Clooney, which is something else that, again, this was a scoop that I was hoping you were going to be wrong about. I was, not that I normally root against Syl, but this was one of the few times I've rooted against you. I was like, please be wrong. What was it like getting that scoop that Clooney was going to be in the Flash?
This was crazy. This is probably the craziest scoop to this day. I don't think I'll ever top this scoop because the whole industry, like every YouTuber, everyone was denying this here, right? So I get this. They one of my sources, they reached out to me, they say, you would never believe, right, what Gunn did. Like you never believe what this man just did to the Flash film. He gutted out the ending. So no Ben Affleck, no Cavill, no Keaton, no Sasha Kaye. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what's going on with this film? And they said, you want to know who he put in their place? George Clooney. I was like, I believe you, but I don't want to believe you. That's the same person that told me Gunn was hired, by the way. I was like, okay, I got to start believing you more, right? So I ran with it. I did a special stream that morning, that afternoon, whatever. Clooney as Bruce Wayne, right? Outside the courthouse. All the details was right. And that same day I put that scoop out, all of a sudden other industry scoopers started putting out, I'm hearing there's a different Batman at the end of the Flash. And all of a sudden Gunn set up a question and answer with like a burner account or something, asking him, is Clooney the new Batman of DCU? And Gunn said no. So everyone's like, oh, your scoops, no, he debunked you. I'm like, bro, my scoop is that he's just at the end of the Flash. And in my scoop, I said he's not going to be in the DCU. So again, it comes back to research, Dan, right? Actually go to the source of the information. That's why I rock with Syl Nation, because y'all look at the actual source of the information, not just hearsay, not burner accounts, people hiding, right? So it still was the craziest scoop. And again, that's another scoop that shocked me. When I know I shocked Mikey, I know I have a good scoop, right? That's why I know it's a pretty good, because I shocked him with the Ben Affleck on set. I shocked him with the Clooney. I was like, oh, we got a good one. We got a good one right here. And so I was full on. Y'all know, if y'all know, months ago, y'all know I had the whole Clooney avatar. I was all in with this because, again, of the source who has some pretty good information. To actually see it, I'm just going to say, it's probably my proudest achievement because everyone was pushing back. The entire internet was pushing back against Clooney at the end of the Flash film. So that's probably the feather in my cap that cemented me. That's why I said, like, now I don't gotta be first anymore. They just like, okay, like, yeah, Syl has sources. We don't gotta question that anymore. So that's why I say like Joe Manganiello's and it's going to be in the DCU. Because yeah, pretty good sources with that. With Clooney, that's cemented to me. I know you can't choose your moments, Dan, right? You can't choose your moments when you get knighted, but that for some reason, it was people that weren't even my sources, Dan, that reached out to me after they saw a version of the Flash film with Clooney, and they congratulated me. They said, Syl, it was like, dude, you nailed that. It was like, they weren't even my sources, bro. That's how crazy that was, Dan. Like, they was like, congratulations, bro. You nailed it. So, hey, I know this wasn't a highlight to everyone, but for me and like my leaking career, this is probably my crowning achievement moment, George Clooney.
And as upset as I was happy for you when I saw that scoop that you were right. As much as, again, I hated that was in the movie. I mean, I guess I'll be honest, I was hoping for that it would be announced that he was cut from the film. That's what I was hoping for. So that way you could still get your victory, but Cavill or Clooney wouldn't be in it. At least something would. But, and fortunately, we got Clooney, but you called it, and that's one thing I like about you, is that you report all the news that you hear, regardless of whether we like it or not. Like, for example, I've been very supportive of Ezra Miller through all the controversy, all the allegations and stuff. Yes. It pained me to see that you were saying that Ezra was going to be gone from the DCU back when Snyder was going to still be there. Like, Now I don't want Ezra.
Yeah.
Like, I think the SnyderVerse cast is a package deal. So if Cavill's out, then Ezra's out. That's where I stand on that. But
So
that was hard to hear.
I just want to say briefly, I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that. Because
fine.
I know you were a big supporter of Ezra Miller, throughout that whole thing. And I think even you got some viewers who saw your support for Ezra Miller. And I'm pretty sure like some of your subscribers, they subscribed to you because you were very pro Ezra Miller, rightfully so. And let's be clear, Ezra's been cleared of all wrongdoing. No one's writing stories about that right now, right? Shame on the media. Shame on the media.
Accountability.
Yeah, because y'all dumped on Ezra the entire time. All charges are dropped for Ezra Miller. But in real time, Dan, and me and you kind of talked about this, in DMs and stuff, stuff I was hearing when they said, oh, Ezra's going to be in rehab. And then I was hearing from sources he wasn't in rehab, right? And I was worried, but I just wanted to put it out there that no, like this ain't all together yet, y'all. Like something, and I know that kind of the community. I'll just say this, because I'm pretty sure the community that supports Ezra Miller throughout all that, I'm pretty sure they watch your channel, Dan. And I'll just say to them, it was never, and Dan knows this, it was never me going directly at Ezra. It's just what Dan always says. I report what I hear, no matter if I like it or not. When Ezra didn't have their act together, I reported that. It wasn't personal. But when Ezra finally got into rehab and really was, they put out the statement, and then things was cool since then. Since that statement came out last fall, right? And so I try to be very consistent. I don't try to make it so personal for myself personally. And hopefully those supporters of Ezra Miller realize that with me is that I'm a fan of Ezra Miller, right? I mean, I'm a fan of the SnyderVerse, all the actors, and I never was trying to attack Ezra. I was just going off my own intel with that. And, I'm sorry if it went counter to what y'all wanted to hear at that time. But now, okay, Ezra's totally clear of even stealing the beer, of everything, right? So I'm happy because Ezra Miller is a wonderful actor, performer. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ezra does next because they were wonderful in the Flash film. Highlight of the film, for sure.
Oh, yeah, and completely. And that's exactly what I was going to say is that as hard as it was for me to hear, I'm glad you reported what you heard because I never want you to report what you're not actually hearing just to make us feel better because now I know that when you report some good news, we will hear it. And I do want to point out that, and again, I know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. A lot of these same people who boycotted Black Adam, they claim to have supported Ezra Miller. They were very insistent on their support for Ezra Miller, yet all of a sudden for the Flash film, they're calling for a boycott. Some of these same accounts are showing edited footage of Ezra putting a baby in a microwave.
Shameless. Okay. This is what I'm going to say, because I kind of got to tread something lightly here, because I don't want to call out a certain account, only because we had cordial conversations since this moment. But all I'm going to say, if you are an account that supports Ben Affleck as Batman, and you're hating on Ben Affleck as Batman in the Flash film, I feel some kind of way about that. That's all I'm going to say when I say that, okay? But as far as with the Ezra Miller situation, I remember all the pushback I was getting, in real time when I said, yo, they're saying Ezra's in rehab. Ezra's not in rehab. He wasn't, it was a lot of shenanigans going on back then. Now, again, everything's cool now. But back then, I had that pushback then where, oh, no, we support Ezra and this and that. Then the film comes out with Ezra starring in it, and y'all parading that you're not going to watch it. So did you ever support Ezra? Right? So it's like, I find it very weird. People are very selective with their causes. Right? The whole time I'm going to watch everything. So I never try to have some pretense that I'm going to boycott when I'm not. Right? But if you really were supporting Ezra needed you for that Flash premiere. Literally, Ezra was cleared after opening weekend. Was that timing? I don't know. Was this some kind of conspiracy targeting Ezra? Yes. I covered that too. When I had my information last fall that they're targeting Ezra. I told you what I heard, but then I said too, yes, this is a target situation here. I guess they got what they want because they ruined their big premiere. All right. So all you all out there that's parading that y'all didn't see the Flash film, I guess congratulations. You know, y'all destroyed Ezra Miller's big Hollywood premiere. You happy about that? Right? So that is what it is. But like I said, going forward, I wish the best for Ezra Miller because they're very talented. And like I said, if you all the people that saying they didn't see the Flash, but they saw it on bootleg or something. So y'all seen Ezra's performance. Y'all know how talented Ezra is. So support them and other things as well, too. That's all I will say.
And I'm going to kind of wrap this up by saying, just remember, people, today it's Ezra Miller, tomorrow it's you or me. So just like with Jonathan Majors and all this other stuff. Again, and I'll just kind of say, when something comes out, I don't believe or disbelieve it. I wait for stuff to come out, then I make my judgment. So that's all you should all do. And we'll kind of somewhat transition actually into this next topic because this actually kind of transitions us into the random questions. But before we get to SellZSJL, there is one question I have for you. One that's very important to me as a fan. When are you going to do your review of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
I tell you, I haven't seen it yet, right? So once I watch it, I got to do a review with my movie review co-host, Alicia. So I got to watch it first. Once I watch it, we'll definitely, since you asked me, we'll try to get that done before the end of this month. I'll just throw it out there like that. We'll try to get that done. Just for you, Dan.
Thank you. Both Don and I saw that movie and we both really liked it. It definitely will ruin your childhood. It will definitely ruin your childhood a little
bit. Yeah. Hey, open IP, like what do they call that term? It's like in the free market or whatever. Open domain, right? So that's gonna be Superman 10 years from now. You're gonna get like a weird Superman film. You know, we all gonna be a little older, seeing like a weird Superman. Open domain is coming for everybody.
And so hopefully SellZSJLToNetflix can happen before this campaign. So, because Sky told you about this campaign before he announced it. Like, what was it like when you first heard that his idea?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting. And shout out to Skywalker the Jedi. Shout out to Leon of the New Geeks. All of the Cool Table Syndicate Network. Shout out to everybody out there. It was after my Death to the Justice League post, Dan, that Sky hit me up. He's like, "What's going on?" Right? And so I told him what I was hearing. I was like, "Yo, like I'm hearing Gunn is cleaning house." This was last December, right? Gunn's cleaning house of the SnyderVerse actors. They don't want to pay them. I was saying all this stuff back then. And so Sky was like, "Man, like, so it's really over?" Like, I was like, "At Warner's, yeah. At Warner Bros., it's not happening. It's just not happening at all." And so Sky, like, he, I guess, thought about it. I think he kind of told his story, like, where he got his inspiration from. And then after that, after a stream, he hit me up. He said, "What do you think about like a third party for the SnyderVerse?" I was like, "Well, I mean, Zach's at Netflix, right? I mean, he was like, yeah, Zach's at Netflix. Maybe they can do something at Netflix or Amazon or somewhere, right?" And I was like, "Man, like, I don't see a reason not to push for them to license it. Because if the problem, and see, this is the thing, the genesis of all this sale is not that, oh, Warner's just don't want to do SnyderVerse, it's over. No, they couldn't afford to do it. I want to make this clear when I say this. Like when he said no to Cavill, it wasn't, oh, I just don't want no Henry Cavill Superman. No, I don't want to pay Henry Cavill $15 million to play Superman. That's what that was, right? I won't pay Gal 20. I won't pay Ben 20 plus artist equity share. That's what it was. It was business. Now, we don't agree with it. I get that. But when we talk about sale, it's not saying Warner's just had no interest at all. We know DeLuca and Abdi did. It's the financial part of it. So if y'all can't afford to do the SnyderVerse here, can you license it off somewhere else? And so when Sky, once I kind of told Sky the reasons for why they're not continuing the SnyderVerse, he's like, can they do it somewhere else? I was like, hey, your guess is as good as mine, right? So that's when he came up with the hashtag, and he debuted it on his own channel. It trended, I think, immediately the next day, like within 12 hours. And the rest is history with that. A movement was born, what Sky has done. Then he went, at Stone Quarry in the Black Superman suit. Then Sky went to Full Circle and talked. And I'm looking forward to what I always tease Sky with this. That whole weekend at Full Circle was out there with Zack Snyder. Sky talked to Zack several times every day. So I don't know everything that he talked to Zack about. I'm just throwing it out there. He was in Zack's ear the entire weekend, y'all. Y'all just saw one video and probably like a couple pictures. Okay. So Sky is really he pushed the awareness of this, and he really brought it right to Zack's doorstep and Debbie out there. So I fully support this idea of knowing why Zaslav 180'd on the SnyderVerse and seeing that they're open for business, selling their music catalogs. You got the animated Batman Cape Crusader going to Amazon, right? You got some DC projects going to Netflix, Dead Boy Detectives through Berlanti. That's going to Netflix already. So there's things that's happening. J.J. Abrams, some of his projects may go to Amazon. So this isn't like impossible. And then on top of that, it's confirmed that Netflix is buying Max Originals from HBO. So if they buy the Snyder Cut, this is going to get real interesting now, because Snyder Cut is a Max Original, right? So now we didn't know this, 6 months ago that this was going to happen with Netflix, but Sky had the forethought, knowing that money was the issue. So what's another way that this could happen? And like I said, Syl was born, and yeah, I totally support it, man. And it's gonna get real interesting, man. If they buy the Snyder Cut, I'm gonna be feeling it's gonna be something in the air if that happens, man.
So I have a fan question for you with the Syl topic. Let's say that Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery got this deal. They got a deal down for, we'll just say any director's cut. So that's the Ayer cut, the Muschietti cut, even the Jenkins cut of Wonder Woman 2017, anything that's already filmed, the completion of Zack's arc, whatever that is, and one more project in the SnyderVerse/DCEU. And after that, no other DCEU actors will be used aside from what Gunn is doing in his stuff. If there could be one more project for that, what would it be for you?
I think totally, and because I think this is and again, this is no intel. I want to make it very clear. My insiders, I have no information about SellZSJLToNetflix. I just don't. I haven't heard anything, right? If I'm going to pick a project to end this off the right way, I feel it will. If it's going to happen, it's going to be one project. This is what I feel. You got to pay off the Nightmare, because Zack put that at the end of the Snyder Cut for a reason. Those scenes are the Nightmare. And then somehow you have to resolve, what Darkseid, manipulating Superman. So I'm thinking one project. Now, it could be as long as they want to make a series or whatever. It has to be a Nightmare project where at the end they thwart whatever Darkseid did to manipulate Superman. I don't feel we're gonna get that full battle of the world against the new gods, right? What JL3 was supposed to be. I just don't think the scale can happen as far as money wise. But I think we can get a Nightmare project where at the end they pick the right time loop to stop what Darkseid did. Like where the Flash was too soon in BVS, he's gonna be right on time at the end of this project, and they're just going to simply stop Darkseid from coming to Earth. And that's going to end the SnyderVerse. that's me again. This is just me with no intel saying what could happen when you talk about money, when you talk about co-financing. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about third party. I think that's the project to end all projects for the Snyderverse is pay off Nightmare and show them stopping, Thwart and Darkseid going to the right time loop. And I would actually be happy if that would be the end of the Snyderverse right there. So I guess technically that's like ZSJL 2.5. And I could walk away saying I saw Zach's story. The nightmare was complete. And I will be okay. I would be okay with that.
And that would be too. And you know what I actually would love about that kind of ending, though? It's what I call a New Hope ending. An ending where if it ends, you're satisfied. But if, let's say, it's popular, they could still do more. Because this is what people need to realize. Even if Netflix only plans on doing one more project, if that's like their goal, if it's successful, don't you think they're going to want to do more after that?
Well,
that's what people need to realize.
Netflix, has a history with this, right? They got the rights to Lucifer, then they did the new season of Lucifer, right? They did the Idris Elba series Luther, and then they made a movie off of Luther. This is Netflix like MO, right? Like this is what they do. They get these properties, and if it's popular, they produce something new. So yes, I'm with you what you said there. It's just my thing is that initially, what am I going to expect? Let's say they get the Snyder Cut on Netflix. It's going to do numbers. We're going to do engagements. We're going to do watch parties. It's going to be crazy worldwide for Netflix. They're going to want to invest. Oh, Cobra Kai as well, thanks to Socks. Netflix got Cobra Kai from YouTube Red. There's YouTube Premium now. Then they produced several seasons after that, right? That's Netflix MO. That's what they do. So if you get the Nightmare Project and you show that they thwart Darkseid, like you prevent him from coming to Earth, that's going to blow up, right? You already know. That's going to blow up like crazy on Netflix. And Netflix would literally look for opportunities to do something new or at least a spinoff. Now, I'm going to say this here. And I guess it's probably the best part to kind of bring this up real quick. Is Warner's totally done with Zack Snyder? As far as Snyderverse films, I believe yes. Do I believe they can do a project as far as just like DC? I am hearing, and again, this may be a little burden for some people, but you may get a Snyderverse comic line. Not probably a line, like a couple issues. I'm just gonna throw it out there like that because I have been hearing that for a few months as far as what will happen under Warner's and DC. Now, Sell's a whole different thing. That's Netflix paying for it or co-financing for it. I do believe DeLuca and Abby has a good relationship with Zack Snyder, and Jim Lee has a good relationship with Zack Snyder as well too, and Debbie. So I do see some kind of Snyderverse comic line coming up. Just throwing it out there. Bookmark that for later. But as far as actual live action, Netflix is the way. #Sell is the way. And if it's successful, which it will be if they do it, Netflix will probably push for that battle, that real battle versus Darkseid. I could see that happening if the one is successful. Yeah.
Personally, too, I'm hoping after that they do some spin-off projects, like get artist equity involved for that Batflick movie. Maybe do that Black Adam v Superman movie, the Cyborg movie. I think a Cyborg would be an easy one for them to do.
Yeah, especially if they do. Mikey reported last year that Rebel Moon possibly would do a Blood Axe spinoff, which now we learned that Blood Axe is a brother and sister duo. It's Ray Fisher and another actress. That could be a spinoff right there. If that's successful, man, can we do a Ray Fisher-led Cyborg project on Netflix? Like, why not, right?
And that's why I just want people to realize that the possibilities are endless on here. Even if, again, because we do got to be realistic, start small with the one more project, but you bring something that I think people need to remember. Ask for it all anyways. You say this because that's how you negotiate. You ask for everything you want. I remember someone had some weird 4-phase slate on there that for Netflix. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's realistic, but hey, ask for it, because for all we know, James Gunn could completely flop, and then Warner Brothers could be begging for Netflix to keep the DC brand hyped up while they regroup.
Yeah, because I feel, just if I'm gonna just give my opinion, like with the Ayer cut, I see no way Warner's releasing the Ayer cut under what they're doing right now. So you might as well sell that to Netflix, Amazon, whoever. All these projects, like you said, when you say ask for it all, yeah, ask for the Batfleck. Again, all they gotta do is pay Ben and Ars Equity the right amount of money, and Ben will do your Batfleck movie. I mean, Zaslav didn't want to pay him, y'all. Like, Ben was gonna do it. Ben was gonna do this when they were pushing Zach out. Ben was gonna do it if Zach would have produced it. This was in late 2020. There was talks. It was talks of the Batfleck project then. That's when he decided to join the Flash film. So I'm just saying, Ben is open to doing it. His friend Kevin Smith said, yeah, if they come with the right pitch to Ben, he would do a Batfleck film, Dark Knight Returns, right now. All right. So that's still whoever, comes with the right amount of money, because this is business. And I mean, I may come out with a video on this, because I mean, what I say is that no one lowered their asking price. Like, like Cavill's like, no, I want my money. All right. I'll come back. I want my money. Gal Gadot as well. She's an international superstar. Ben as well. And that's when Zaslav pushed back. He wanted to lowball him. You see what I'm saying? And now we see with this artist strike and writer strike, actor strike, you want people to get their due. So yeah, no, you don't lowball these international superstars. That's what Zaslav was trying to do. So hopefully Netflix will step up and do it, and ask for everything, and let's see what we get, ultimately.
And that's all we can do. I mean, I hear different rumors, like supposedly, like with the whole HBO, with ZSJL being taken off HBO in Europe. I know Mikey had a theory about that on Night Shift. I guess, what's your opinion on that?
So it was a HBO Asia or Go, I believe.
Europe. Oh, Go did it too, because I know
it was
Europe
one of those.
Did I know?
Yeah. So I'm thinking, and I have no real intel with this, is that those are areas where there's no HBO Max. I'm not sure if Netflix is out there. Maybe it'll move over to Netflix in those certain areas. Again, I don't have the full story with that, but I know, as far as the current business structure of Warner Bros. Discovery right now, especially Max, if they can monetize any project they remove from their streamer, they're going to do it. So in those areas, if they have Netflix, I would say keep an eye out on Netflix in those areas. Or if there's some kind of other platform, like you have Sky in UK, you have Crave in Canada, the other place that shows DC stuff. Look out for those other streaming services in that area, because they probably just sold it to a third party internationally. Now, we want Netflix overall. So that's the push right now. So I don't see a connection with it, just me personally. I don't see a connection with that, with them removing it. I think it's going to end up in another streaming service in Europe. Yeah.
Really? All we can do is hope with that. Have faith, like Ben Affleck said. And I do want to also bring this up too. What was it like going to Full Circle and meeting Zack Snyder and meeting the Cool Table? What was that like?
That was crazy, right? Like, it was very cool. Skywalker the Jedi picked me up from the airport, right? So that was cool. Finally hanging out with Sky. And he doesn't live in the La Quinta Inn. I don't know, Betas was saying that. He doesn't live in the La Quinta Inn. But very cool there. And then finally, to meet Zack Snyder, to do my video, like all that happened organically. I was about to Zach came out of nowhere. It was first day of Full Circle. So it was a meet and greet outside. They did it for day one only, because Saturday and Sunday, that was Friday. Saturday and Sunday, you just go straight into the theater, the auditorium. But day one, he was outside. They had like some carnival food, and free drinks, and it was cool. Zach just strolls out there, like you sitting there, you drinking tequila and stuff, and then Zach just comes out of nowhere. Like, wait a minute, am I seeing this right? Like, and Zach's up there grabbing drinks. So Sky talks to him immediately. Like Sky just makes a beeline to Zack Snyder to a conversation. Hey, will he ever release the details? I don't know. Right? What Sky talked to him about. And so finally, a line formed with Zack Snyder. Let me get in line here. Now we're about 30 minutes away. We gotta do the Man of Steel viewing in the theater. About 30 minutes. I'm like, hopefully I can make the cut here, right? And so I'm in line. We make the cut. So I'll start my recording and I'll literally just go live, not knowing what's going to happen. And Zach gives me like the best drop ever. Right? He gives Scott the best answer ever to why we should keep fighting for the SnyderVerse. I mean, all that's on video, right? Like people can make up what they want to make up. The source is right there with the information. Zach is as down to earth as you think he is, right? He's as down to earth as you think he is. Very cool. He's very grateful for his fans, him and Debbie. Debbie is like wonderful. My goodness, the conversations I had with Debbie just off camera. Debbie is wonderful as a producer, as a businesswoman. It's like you cheer for them, man. Like, we're fans of their work, but just as people, like you're just like ingratiated to them in person, right? So it's everything you thought it would be, right? Meeting Zack Snyder in person. And I did ask him when I was there, I was like, hey, since y'all cool with DeLuca and Abby, are y'all going to do another SnyderCon next year? And of course, trademark Zach, he was like, yeah, we'll see. Right? I don't know. So if there is another one, I'm going to make for certain I set aside enough funds to make another SnyderCon. It was so worth it even if you didn't meet him in person, just to be in the building when he's up there just answering the questions. Y'all saw that on Vero, the whole live stream on Vero. That's how Zach is. Zach is a comedian, man. Zach is a total comedian. So down to earth. He didn't mention James Gunn at all the whole weekend. He's wonderful,
His
man.
buddy.
Zach is the best, man. He alluded to the Superman film. He didn't even mention James Gunn. No, he's the best. And I say if you're saying you're a Zack Snyder supporter, make sure y'all supporting the heck out of Rebel Moon or whatever he's doing as well with that. Because they deserve it, man. That tandem right there, that team, they deserve whatever goodwill they get, man. They're real people. Real good people right there. Yeah.
And the Snyders really do seem like great people. And they really, I mean, and again, just not to completely go back to this point, but the fact that Mikey said that they want to work with Ezra Miller still, even after all that stuff went down. I don't see anyone other than the Snyders doing that.
No one else really put their neck out. Now, I'll give Muschietti credit. Muschietti did speak out before the allegations were dropped. Muschietti said he will work with Ezra again. So just bookmark that for the future.
Yeah, Muschietti too, right?
Yeah, shout out to the Muschiettis. They're good people as well too, I believe. But yeah, Zach and Debbie, before anything was cleared, Zach and Debbie said they're gonna go watch The Flash. They want to see Ezra. They was texting Ezra. That's what they said. So so good on them. And yeah, they know Ezra better than we do. So they know if there was some weird issues going on, they would know better than we would. And they stuck their neck out for Ezra. I feel like they did, really. And so that gives us hope, Dan, for if so happens, we get Ezra and that proper JL2 sequel. So, yeah.
Well, it's not to be too... Ezra probably is cheaper now, too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So Netflix could afford it. And, well, here's something I thought of, too, is that with Mikey reporting Ezra possibly being in a Rebel Moon spinoff, we know Zach's not going to do every Rebel Moon project. What if Zack Snyder brought Andy Muschietti to direct one of the Rebel Moon spinoffs with Ezra?
Ooh, okay.
That's just theory of mine.
Okay, because there's some respect there. Muschietti shouted out Zach a couple of times through the press run of the Flash film. Right, he shouted out Zach more than once. So Yeah, I could see that. I could see Zach, and we've already seen it, right, Dan, with Army of the Dead, Army
Yeah.
of Thieves. Someone else directed that, right? So
The star of
Zach
the
with this,
movie, the guy who played Dieter.
yeah, I forget his name. But Zach probably helped with the writing or some producing, but someone else can handle the directing. I There's going to be several Rebel Moon projects. You're going to need other directors involved. So yeah, I wouldn't put it past Zach getting Muschietti or Ayer or someone doing stuff like that.
And I think we have a lot. I mean, regardless, we have a lot of great stuff to look forward to with Netflix, with Zack Snyder, hopefully with DC, with Cell happens. But kind of to wrap this up, well, I guess my last
Mhm.
question before the wrap up is where do you hope to have your channel going forward? Like, where do you
Yeah,
really want your channel to end up?
I really, because I mentioned like what happened last December with the whole gun bomb that really, you know, blew up in everybody's faces as far as DC fans and Snyder fans. And you're like, man, like, where am I gonna go with content, right? Well, now I mean, it's being redubbed. My channel is redubbed as a Syl Abdul Geek Network, and I'm really excited for this because obviously I'm still going to do my DC stuff like I've been doing, whether I like the DC stuff or not. That's one thing. But there's going to be an avenue where we're going to do some MCU. I'm still talking to other contributors who has a passion for Marvel, right? I may not have that same passion like I have for DC. I can't put that same energy into Marvel, but if there's someone that I trust that I like their way of doing content and they want to do Marvel, then I'm going to get them in the network and we're going to do Marvel content, or they will do content. I'll probably produce it on the channel. Also, gaming. Shout out to Taladia. Taladia plays on Twitter. Taladia, Dan. He's going to help me with some gaming content. I'm all about now. Just to answer your question, I want to get people that has a passion for different topics under the geek, umbrella. So you're talking about, CBMs, right? Marvel, DC, Star Wars, sci-fi, whatever, film, entertainment, series, uh, comic books. I'm talking to people that specializes in really keeping up with comic books every week. I'm gonna get them right on the channel. And gaming, like I said, with Taladia, we're gonna talk about like Comic Con gave us information about Spider-Man 2, the PS5 game that's coming out, and Suicide Squad game and stuff like that. So the future of my channel, we're gonna cover everything, right? We'll cover everything as far as with geek. I have a separate channel that talks about sports, so that's for people that wants to do sports, and I plug other stuff that I'm doing as well. But as far as the geek channel, I want to expand. It's not just going to just be DC. I know that's why I'm known as a DC scooper, a leaker. But we're going to kind of cover everything as long as that contributor has a passion for it. And like I said, I'm having conversations with several people already. So we're going to, do some good content where, again, I may not care about the next Star Wars series. So I may not be the right person to present that to the audience, right? But if I have someone that I trust, I'm going to put them on the channel and they're going to give the information and, as long as they have a passion for it. So that's what's going forward. Obviously, I'm hearing a lot of stuff about James Gunn's future. So whether you like it or not, Dan kind of saw some of the member stuff. I'll just say this: the next two films, or the two first films in DC Studios, this is their bullets in the chamber. Superman Legacy, Brave and the Bold. Members, y'all know the whole story with that. But they want to showcase DC. Let's see what happens when they're bought and how it goes, how this resonates with the DC audience. Whatever happens, we're going to be here to cover it, right? If it bombs, we're going to be here to cover it. If somehow it succeeds, we'll be here to talk about it as well. So that's what we're doing going forward, Dan. We're going to do, more DC, but then we're going to really branch out and cover different things under the geek culture. So, yeah.
Dude, I really love seeing expanding into multiple different things because it's a good way to get more viewers. And I guess, hold on, let me just fix something real quick here. And Let's
Let's see.
Oh, okay, I have to hit save. That's why it wasn't. That's why it wasn't. That's why it wasn't. Okay, anyway. So I guess kind of to wrap up, I guess any final thoughts or anything, I guess, immediately coming up on your channel you want to talk about, or any of your channels, I should say.
Well, yeah, because I mentioned with the gaming, I'm gonna get with Taladia actually this weekend. We're gonna do a recap of the Comic-Con gaming announcements as far as with the Spider-Man 2. That's a very popular game coming out. I always wanted to kind of have an avenue. Before I started my channel talking about DC stuff, I always thought I would do like a gaming channel. I just never knew how to do it, right? But now with the audience that I have, I can kind of branch off and do some gaming conversations. So we're going to talk about the new information there. So look out for that this weekend. Like I said, members content. We're always doing that. Rogues with Mikey Sutton every Friday. The latest in just geek news. We talk about that on Rose Gallery, and we have fun with it. And I think that's what draws people to that show, is that we have a good time with our camaraderie and everything like that. You mentioned the other channels. I do have a Syl Abdul Plus channel, and that Plus channel is definitely to riff off of Disney Plus, I guess, but or Paramount Plus. But it is to take you outside. I want to designate exactly what I'm doing on each channel. So we're going to branch out of the geek culture in the Plus channel. So I found conversations, though some of us, we may want to talk about Oppenheimer and Barbie or whatever, but the Geek Network, YouTube doesn't really push that on the Geek channel. So the Plus channel is to talk about pretty much everything else. Mission Impossible. Let's talk more about that on the Plus channel, because the Geek channel doesn't really push stuff that's not CBMs, right? So I'm learning the YouTube algorithm, and so that's why I'm kind of doing multiple channels like that. So like I said, look out for that coverage. If you like different dramas, like there's this Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio film coming out, Killer Flowers of Men, supposed to be an Oscar thing. My Geek channel, they don't want to talk about that on my Geek channel, right? So I'll take that over to the Plus channel and let's have a long conversation. I know some critics of the North American Critics Association, so I'm gonna have them talk about that on that channel, right? And then I have the sports channel, so three channels overall. That's the Geek channel. That's what everything CBM and gaming, comics. Plus channel is everything else in film, entertainment, series. Sports channel, I'm really excited for the sports channel, Dan. For some reason, I don't know. It just, I have a passion. Again, if I have a passion for something, I'm going to talk about it, right? So pretty much it's me and the Cool Table. We've launched the Syl Nation Sports Network, where we're talking about basketball, football. Sky's talking about boxing. Austin is into racing, so he's going to do racing videos. I got Jules. I just debuted her on my members channel, on my members video. She talks baseball. We're going to get people across the board. It's going to be different people probably every video. I may be on some videos. Some videos may just be Sky. Some videos may be just Austin, right? We're going to get Leon in there. Me and Necron, we talk about his Spurs, his #1 draft pick. So I'm really excited for that channel because it's like an ensemble, the sports channel. So if you're into sports, like I said, check out the sports channel. Geek stuff, come to the main channel. And then if you want to, cry in your movies, I guess go to the Plus channel, right? That's what we're doing.
And it's really great to see you expanding. I think there's so much great stuff that you're doing, and it was really great having you on. And I guess for me, real quick, is I guess I'm going to do my Oppenheimer. I'm going to see Oppenheimer tomorrow and do a review on it. So hopefully I'll get out this weekend. And other than that, just continue fun stuff like this. It was, again, really great having you on. I was really, really excited to finally get you on my channel and just learning a lot more about you. Just thanks again for coming on.
Hey, for sure, man. Hey, in the future, when it calls for it, definitely I'll be back on here. And you already know when I open the panel on my channel, you already know you're always welcome. So
yeah. And I can't wait for the next one because I'll definitely be there for that. And guys, check out Syl I'm sure all of you do already, but if you don't, I put his 3 channels in the description, and I'll make sure to get some of his essential videos in the description as well. And if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss another episode, and so you can get more unique takes and interesting thoughts. And lastly, have a bat-tastic day.